Okay, and yeah, just where we left off last time. So, as we last left off, you know what, I don't even need to kind of repeat myself. We just saw, and anyone interested would kind of have an idea. So, last thing to do is just head forward with probably the last bit of really interesting camera work in the game, honestly. Right here. Man, this is some cinematography.
I'm being summoned. What happened in this town? What could be making things like this? I have a feeling if I take the elevator down, I'll find it. Cheryl.
And here we are. Now, anyone familiar with sort of the layout or the progression of the game so far, or if you've just been watching the videos, you'll know this is the hospital. This is Alchemilla that we have just now entered. I think as we go on, you'll start to slowly understand the gimmick of this level. It's a very interesting one. Just grab these handgun bullets. Really don't need them. Kind of resource stacked at the moment, but may as well. On hard mode, those are absolutely a must. Oh no. Again, such a good image. Such good imagery right there. Any other game would just ram crap in your face with, spooky jump scare, oh my god, ghost girl, Alma, fear. And I like fear for the record, but nope, just laugh, runs to the door. Speaking of the door, it's locked. The word Phalag is carved into the door. Now, this is going to be a stop and pop episode where I read from my notebook, because I'm a pretentious asshole like that, where I try to explain what these door names mean. Now, all of these names for the 5 doors that you'll find in Nowhere are taken from Arbedel de Magia Veterum. And it's a magic text written between, grimoire, if you will, written between 1536 and 1583. And the focus of the text is based on the relationship between humanity, celestial hierarchies of gods, goddesses, what have you, and the positive relationship between the two. Now, the writer of the work, I forget the name, but a later on person who contributed to it, an occultist named A.E. Waite, claimed it was a Christian work of magic that rejected black magic and encouraged community, kindness, charity, honesty, all that nice crap. And A.E. Waite personally denied any ties between this and the Lesser Key of Solomon. Now, the Lesser Key of Solomon was actually something that was referenced earlier in relation to the Flaros item, well, the Flaros being a demon from that text. So it's kind of a nice little link between the two. Now, Phalag in particular, what that means. Oh, just double check. This is the Phalag door, though. Yep, it's Phalag door. Phalag is an Olympian spirit from the book. It is the warlord, whose planet is symbolized as Mars. Good evening, Jack Daniels. Thanks for joining us again. We'll just be concluding tonight, actually. I was just explaining a bunch of Olympic spirits and crap, how that's where the names of these are taken from. And we are back in what appears to be the Green Lion Antique. What makes this interesting is that I think you can kind of get the gimmick of Nowhere. Essentially, as we went over last time, if Silent Hill, the game and story we've experienced, is a dream, the worlds we've explored are dream worlds in someone's mind, essentially Nowhere can be seen as the dream collapsing. I've referenced Nightmare on Elm Street in the last episode. Think of this like the ending of the first Nightmare on Elm Street, where the protagonist, whose name I currently forget, while fighting Freddy, would just seem to go without any logical connection between different places, back and forth. Welcome again, Dave. Welcome again. I'm just gonna make sure that my mic is on. Yes, it is. Okay, we're good to go. Good to go. Welcome again. You're not late. We just started. It's only 7 after. Just talking about a bunch of other crap that a lot of people probably aren't interested in. But we got some resources and we got some enemies. Coming in clear. Super. Now, this is probably actually the place where I should use a shotgun. So, may as well put that on. Oh no, Wes, last night we just had some mic issues for about 10 minutes there when I first started, so I'm just double checking since I kind of screwed up last night. I'm kind of embarrassed. How's it going, Toxic? Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. Oh, and we have another door. Let me flip back to that note here. I believe this is the door of Ophiel. Word Ophiel. Alright. Ophiel is another Olympian spirit. It is who commanded 100,000 legions of spirits and is symbolized by the planet Mercury. Now, I just kind of want to point out, I don't think there's any real thematic depth to some of these things. How do I put this? Without sounding like a complete cunt, but excuse my language. But see, look, Phaleg, Ophiel. I am not exactly certain what the significance of these references are to the actual story or lore or plot of Silent Hill 1, or the characters for that matter, which are what really matter here. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. So that's one thing is a weakness on my part. I should have done more research into the specific Olympic references to these spirits. And we're back in the elementary school. Now, what we see here, completely empty classroom, a single desk in the middle. Let's take a look at it. Go home. Thief. Drop dead. That's some nasty words to be carved into a child's desk, but if this is an elementary school, what we can assume is that if, as we know last time, the world we have played through is sort of an illustration of the dreamer's mind, subconscious, their fears, anxieties, what have you, then this kind of shows what would be their schooling experience. Just entirely alone, but they're the center of attention still. Notice how the desk is placed directly in the center. While they are completely alone, they see themselves as isolated, they still see themselves as the center of attention. Some sort of childhood, narcissism, egoism thing. Whatever, I don't know. But that is kind of the point. Whoever is the dreamer here sees himself in the school setting as alone, hated, but still the center of focus. Nothing bad happened at your elementary school? Lucky. I had a weird fake shooting lockdown one day. That was weird. Alright, so we just got ourselves some of the tools we need to progress. Let's go solve some of these puzzles then. So you'll be noticing there's a lot of impossible space. This staircase in particular here is actually what led to the basement in the regular hospital. And the room that it leads to immediately is an elementary school. Once again, to reiterate, the dream is collapsing. So, oh, going to school during 9/11 must have been, that must have been a day. Did your school have TVs? Did you actually watch it? Would have been pretty weird. Key is stuck on the faucet. I can't get it out no matter how much I pull. Well, fortunately, Harry, for your weak manlet hands, we have pliers. Yeah. Key of Ophiel. Take it? You bet. Alright. Alright, so no, it's Phaleg. And there we go. I think we'll do this Grim Reaper's puzzle last. No, actually, well, let's look at it first. Let's look at this. There's a slate. The Grim Reaper's list, it said. Huh, wonder what that could be. No idea. Well, let's just go around. Alright, so once again, as we talked in the first episode about the piano puzzle. Oh, that's a bad thing to have your school be made national for. Hometown pride, I guess. But speaking of the first episode with the piano puzzle, this is another puzzle that people tend to overthink. So let's just look at the slates on the wall here. 2. Zero. 10. Yeah, 9/11 was basically a day when everyone went completely goddamn mad. 4. Yeah, this one's hard because people think it's harder than it is. It fools you with its weird presentation. So if you pay attention to the numbers, what they all had in common was the amount of limbs. The amount of limbs on all of the pictures. So, for this one, we would have 6, because it's a centaur. 4 legs, 2 arms. 6. We have a bull, so that'd be 4. 4 legs. And we have 2 kids. That would be 8. And there we go. Stone of Time. Take it. You came back to the school shooting and 9/11 hour. Or, I guess, other school things. Jeez, it's getting dark, man. Oh! Bam. Never stood a chance. Oh well, I guess it's not that much darker than what we're doing here in Silent Hill today. Oh, another one. Names engraved on a lithograph. The Grim Reaper's list. Yes, the head count is set young and old lined up in order of age. Then the pathway opens, awaiting them the frenzied uproar, the feast of death. Oh yeah, Silent Hill has combat. Like, Silent Hill is not your typical amnesia thing. No, you fight enemies in Silent Hill. You wreck shit. You wreck ass. Look at this. Completely devastated her. She never stood a chance. No one stands a chance when they're facing the Mason. So, if we look at the Grim Reaper's list again, young and old, what we have, 18, Albert Lords, 35, Lydia Findlay, 38, Edward C. Briggs, 45, Roberta T. Morgan, and 60, Trevor F. White. Yeah, the combat's not great, but it's serviceable. I think Silent Hill 3 actually kind of got the combat to be pretty decent overall, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now, if you pay attention, we go over here. It's a big old slate. But if we line them up, young to old, with the first letters of each name, what we can do is spell out a word. L-E-R-T. Alert. Nothing bad's gonna happen in here. Not at all. No, we're good to go, everybody. So it's a storeroom of some kind. A lot of bodies back here. But what we have is an item for progression. There's an Amulet of Solomon. Take it. Now, this is actually one of the 5 progression items that we have, and... This is going to be hard to talk about individually, but the Amulet of Solomon, or Star of David if you prefer, it's actually a Star of David. That's the thing. It's not an Amulet of Solomon. It's actually missing elements of the rune to truly be a Seal of Solomon. So this is in fact the Jewish Star of David. Don't know why they called it that. I have a theory as to why it might be called Seal of Solomon, or Amulet of Solomon, even though that's technically incorrect. But we'll get to there when we get there. And indeed, we have a very important scene coming up. So I'm just going to let that play out, because this is one of the most interesting elements of Silent Hill 1, and we're going to have to sit down and talk about it for a bit.
Harry?
Lisa, what's the matter with you?
I get it now. Why I'm still alive even though everyone else is dead. I'm not the only one who's still walking around. I'm the same as them. I just hadn't noticed it before.
Lisa.
Stay by me, Harry. Please. I'm so scared. Help me. Save me from them. Please. Harry?
Lisa.
And we can't go back in there. Let's do so. There's a diary on the floor. Ask doctor to let me quit being in charge of that patient. It's too weird. Still alive, but with wounds that won't heal. Told the doctor I quit. Won't work at that hospital anymore. The room is filled with insects. Even with doors and windows shut, they still get in to spite me. To the hospital. Feeling bad. Need to throw up, but nothing comes out. Vomiting only bile. Blood and pus flow from the bathroom faucet. I try to stop it, but it won't turn off. Need drug. Help me. So, yeah. That was the end of Lisa Garland. So... Before we kind of get to my take on Lisa, let's just kind of go over the scene as we saw it. Lisa, at her end, the first thing she says is, I get it now. Lisa gets it. She says, I believe, and I quote, I'm the same as all of them. So, who is the them they're referring to? Well, in my opinion, the them they are referring to is the puppet nurses, the enemies that we've been seeing up to this point. And we'll explain that more in a second. Let's go over her diary. Now, Lisa mentions being in charge of a patient, quote unquote, but she hates it. Hates every minute of it and wants to transfer. She's also addicted to something. Whatever that something is, it seems to be causing some sort of powerful hallucination. Bugs getting in just to spite her no matter where she goes, blood and pus from the faucet, dry heaving, bile. Yeah. Whatever it is seems to be giving her some sort of hallucinogenic vision of some kind. Well, okay, so no more beating around the bush. I don't think Lisa Garland is real. Or at least, I don't think the Lisa that we see in Silent Hill 1 as Harry Mason is real. Lisa Garland was a real person. But in my opinion, Lisa Garland that we interact with is the same as all of them. She is like the puppet nurses, like the enemies. She's a figment of the dreamer's imagination. The difference is, Lisa became self-aware as the dream progressed. It started off with her claiming ignorance about anything that was happening around her, and when Harry pushed her, she started to think about it, started to reflect on it. And when she went to the basement, she just seemed to get it. Because she seemed to have her memories of the patient come back. And I suppose she must come to the realization, I don't exist. I am a figment of another person's imagination. I'm the same as all of them. And what happens when Lisa no longer has any purpose? She, just like the Wicked Witch of the West, she melts. And we've had a lot of Wizard of Oz motifs. I think that is intentional. Her name is Garland, after Judy Garland. And obviously we had the very, very lengthy reference to Wizard of Oz at the beginning of the game. A small side note, the real-life actress Judy Garland actually did die of a barbiturate overdose, I believe. But that raises a question. If the Lisa that we see here isn't real and is just a figment of another person's imagination, how can we read her diary? Well, GameFAQs user Silent Pyramid has a pretty interesting interpretation on this, that the notes that we see throughout Silent Hill aren't actually physical notes in location. They're notes of those who have died already, and have sort of been those who have died and those who have died in some sort of turmoil, which the town sort of absorbs. Since it seems to, whatever spiritual energy is in the town seems to feed on suffering and shit like this. And there's a quote from the Book of Lost Memories that, unfortunately, I did not write out word for word, but it describes Silent Hill, the town, as a spiritual sponge. They just absorb shit like this. So I think that's what notes like Lisa's diary are. As the real Lisa more than likely isn't with him, isn't not among the living anymore. So yeah, Lisa's a fake person. She's imaginary. So that's all I can say on Lisa for now, unfortunately. There's a little more that we can talk about later. We have unfinished business. Now, I do find interesting, this track, Not Tomorrow, plays pretty much until you leave the area. Oh, damn. I thought you were in your death throes there, ma'am. Yeah, I think I know what story you're talking about there, Toxic. I have read that. If true, that's terrifying. I had a similar experience where I thought like I lived a week of my life in a dream. That was pretty trippy. But I'm actually glad you picked up on that, Dave. Silent Hill 2 and 3, and without getting into spoilers, 4, all deal with that exact same concept. Lesser 3 than all the rest, of the possibly imaginary person. Actually, come to think of it, I don't think 3 deals... No, 2 and 4 deal with it. Excuse me. Old clock. There's a square hole in the center of the clock. The hands of the clock, it's key. I can't get to it because of the glass cover. Oh well. Your waifu's imaginary, Dave. I'm sorry. It's not like my wife who's real. Ouch. But now we can get the clock key. The key of Hayeth. Flipping back. Another Olympian spirit. Hayeth is the transmuter of metals and commander of 4,000 legions of spirits. His planet is symbolized as Venus. Silent Hill 3 deals with the idea of the town as a spiritual sponge for the dead. Specifically the character Stanley Coleman, but we'll get into him. If we ever do Silent Hill 3, we'll talk more about that. If I remember correctly, it's actually over here. Hey, I guess it goes in here. There we go. We have access to an elevator. Hooray! An elevator inside of impossible space. What could possibly go wrong? Let's go to the second floor. Now, man, Harry holds a 12-gauge shotgun like a pistol, just all the way out. Look at this man, that forearm strength. No, the dog ending is actually in Silent Hill 2, so be on the lookout for that. I will make sure to send that to you later, because the dog ending is hilarious and everyone should see it. But let's just get all the resources around here. Ring of Contract. Don't have much to say on the Ring of Contract that I can actually pin down in notes, so I didn't write anything of value. Got everything? Yep, so only leaves another item. Alright. What we have is the Crest of Mercury. Let's go into the inventory. Now, the Crest of Mercury is also confused with Mercury's staff, the Catechus, or the Sadicus, I believe. I cannot pronounce Grecian words. And a symbol for medicine. It basically is a mixture of Mercury's staff and the rod of Asclepius? Basically the medicine symbol. It's a mixture of the two. Sort of like almost as if whoever's imagining it is mixing them together. Almost like if they're forgetting. But I'll be real, that is me making the ultimate stretch. So basically it's the alchemic symbol of Mercury. I'll have to apologize to everyone. I'm a little sleepy today, so I'm rambling a little more than I should be. A little less focused, a little less cutting edge. Aha! Oh, there we go. Now it's unlocked. Now, a lot of people don't like Nowhere because, like other areas, it lacks a map. I think I can understand why for the last area they would do that. Because it's really trying to hammer in, no, son, this is a bad place to be. And because of the impossible space, I don't know how they would do a map with the system they have in place of finding sort of like in-universe maps. I don't know. Like, you'd have to rework some stuff. Alright, let's kick these guys' ass. Wow, they do not stand a chance. Hey, we have a screwdriver. That means we can deal with this. We have a key. Electricity is flowing to the key. I'll get shocked if I grab it now. Damn it. Need to find a way to get rid of that. I will, Jonathan. I will. Don't worry. Don't worry, buddy. They're getting gunned down. They're getting popped. Getting popped Doom style. No, I will fight the demons, Harry said. No, Harry. You are the demons. Oh no, I've already been here. Yeah, I agree. It's a very simple change, but it adds a lot for how basic it is. Yeah, who needs maps when you have the power of memorization on your side. Yeah, then Harry was a romper. The end. Still have another floor to go to. Third floor. Oh, did you see that? Well, if you pay attention there, you'd see there's a girl praying at this altar. Looks like an altar. Wonder what they worship. Bad shit, Harry. Bad shit. The light to the future. The light illuminating the darkness. A lot of light. Well, you know what causes light? A camera with flash. Oh my god. So plus, top square, bottom left triangle. Okay. Is for this puzzle right here. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, bam. Oh, those kids worship the devil. If you know what we call this shit the devil's pit, the fucking kids will come here. Kids love the devil. That's a timeless gag. Fucking love Tour Guide Nixon. The light to the future. So it'd be, alright, bottom left, bottom right, top left, 90-45. Okay. Believe. Yeah, it's just an Android lock screen. Oh, no, opposite side. 1 minute. There we go. Actually, Toxic, I will unlist them when I'm done the finished episodes, because I'm going to cut these up into smaller individual pieces, just to make consumption a little easier. But I'll make the archives unlisted when I'm finished with that. Just for funsies. So, let's walk in here. And, well, what we have here is a birdcage key. Let's take that. But we also have another side to go to. Which is, this side actually is completely needless for progression. Besides a couple items here and there. But what you do get is knowledge. Let's see if I can remember where that knowledge is at. Is this the knowledge? No, it's not. I believe it's on the bookcase. Aha, here's the knowledge. There's a place mark in this book. White Claudia, perennial herb found near water, reaches height of 10 to 15 inches, oblong leaves, white blossoms. Seeds contain hallucinogen. Ancient records show it was used for religious ceremonies. The hallucinogenic effect was key. Now, if you remember correctly, White Claudia is the base of the drug that is being used by the drug dealers in the town. It's the base ingredient of the drug manufactured by the dealers in town, PTV. Now, White Claudia. The most important thing is that it is a plant that grows native to the town, is used in ancient religious ceremonies, and the seeds contain hallucinogens. Now, here's the thing. In real life, ancient societies and cultures actually did use hallucinogens in rituals, and they used that as a conduit to see and speak with the gods. Now, in real life, dimethyltryptamine, DMT, is a synthesized form of the inside of certain plants, like the Mimosa hostilis root bark, just for one example. That's a very famous one. And just for one example, it was used by the Amazons in their ayahuasca brew. I can't speak. For medicinal and spiritual use. Like peyote, that's another example. Peyote is another example of a spiritual brew being cooked with plant ingredients. But specifically, I think Silent Hill was making reference to DMT with PTV and White Claudia, with White Claudia being the base ingredient of it, and PTV presumably being the synthesized version. The same way that DMT is the synthesized version of, Mimosa Hostilis root bark, just for an example. Now, no, I don't think Silent Hill 1 is a drug trip or anything like that, but I do think that the queer religion or the black magic occult stuff that people in the town followed had something to do with the hallucinogens. I believe that was a key spiritual factor, which is why they synthesized PTV in the first place in the town. But again, that's getting ahead of ourselves. Now, we can also talk about the weirder shit in DMT, like DMT entities. But essentially, all you need to know is that in real life, ancient cultures did use hallucinogens to make contact with gods of some sort. And in Silent Hill, it is alleged that natives of this region did make use of White Claudia to try as a hallucinogen to communicate with their gods, which is worth talking about. Just a moment, everyone. I have my own opinion. Where's Joe Rogan? Yeah, we're the Joe Rogan broadcast. Oh, it's crazy, man. You ever done DMT? But we'll talk more about my opinion on the gods of Silent Hill towards the end. We have some things. Nah, man, Detroit, they do crack. We're talking about brain expansion, bro. It's natural, brah. Expanding our minds. We're psychonauts and shit, brother. Just good vibes. Yeah, I know. Fucking Joe Rogan, I understand he's, he seems like a good guy. Seems like he's interested in his guest. Much better host of shit than I will ever be. But, his DMT pushing is hilarious. But we have a key to a birdcage, which means we can go back here and open a birdcage. Oh my god, that's crazy. We use a key to get another key. The key of Phalag. All right, let's see what Phalag means. Oh, well, no need to. We already looked over Phalag, so we can just take this key. Oh, yeah, it's a great meme. I love that shit. But now we can go through this door. Shazam! After the ghost girl. Now this is interesting. This invisible enemy, it attacks us. These are larval stalkers. If you remember correctly, the larval stalker was completely, innocent almost. Non-hostile is the best way to put it. It let us go. This thing doesn't. This thing's not letting us go. That's attacking us now. Just like the Grey Children. In fact, exactly like the Grey Children. It makes the exact same laugh, has the exact same attack, and I'm certain it's the same model with a different shadow texture. Whatever's happening, the larval stalkers, our invisible friends, seem to be a little less happy to see us. This is mean. If you don't do this puzzle right, this is an instant kill. This one's real mean, ladies and gentlemen. So what we're going to do is put the ring of contract on this chain here. Chain is fixed with the ring, and we're going to grab the dagger of Melchior. Now, Melchior was the oldest of the three Magi who went to the King Herod looking for Jesus. Herod tried to trick them into finding Jesus so he could kill him. Again, I'm just trying to go off of memory here, so forgive me. So God intervened and basically said, like, nah, brother. And as a reference to Melchior. So, yeah. We have references to Greek, Judaism, and Christian symbols. But the thing is, like, Melchior, to my knowledge, didn't even use a dagger, to my recollection. So, nani? We have a lot of contrasting symbols. Whole lot of them. Yeah, one of the three wise men. Also, a Chrono Trigger character. So here we have the door of Bathor, I believe. Bathor, yes. Bathor, who commanded 29,000 legions of demons. His planet is Jupiter. Well, unfortunately, we don't have the key there right now, so we just have to go forward. Have handgun bullets that we're not going to use, because we're kind of stacked and tacked at the moment. More healing items. I should actually check my health. How's Harry doing? You know what? Screw it. Use that just for funsies. Alright, now I remember this. This right here, on my first playthrough, I missed this so much. Jelly beans. Do you want to open the bag? What's inside the bag? What's the fucking lore here? Who knows? Who fucking knows? They put it there because it's quirky. I couldn't tell you, man. But what is lore is a VHS player. Well, wait a minute. We still have a VHS tape. Bathor is not supposed to be Balthazar. Bathor is not supposed to be Balthazar. It's a reference to an Olympiad spirit from a book called Arbitel de Magia Veterum. Bathor was a spirit who commanded 29,000 legions of demons and is symbolized by Jupiter. Again, we have Olympian and Grecian mythology, Christian mythology, Judaism, symbolism, all that stuff just being mixed together. I have a point there, but we'll get to that later. So let's just use this videotape again. That's a lot of demons. Huh, for you. I could take them.
What is it? Still has an unusually high fever. Eyes don't open. Getting a pulse, but just barely breathing. Her skin is all charred. Even when I change the bandages, the blood and pus just start oozing through. Why? What is keeping that child alive? I can't stand it any longer. I won't tell a soul. Promise. So please.
So, instead of static, we get the full VHS tape, which is what appears to be Lisa Garland. What's worth noting here is that Lisa in the VHS tape talks completely differently from the Lisa that we saw in Harry's campaign here, Harry's little story. The Lisa we met was very quiet, subdued, kind of mousy, until the end where she started to emote more. This Lisa sounds fucking hysterical from moment one. A completely different delivery. Props to the voice actors here. Same voice, same character, obviously, but completely different delivery. And, in my opinion, more backing to my theory that the Lisa you meet is just an imaginary Lisa. She didn't film that. Someone else filmed that. Basically, that's essentially the VHS tape is like blackmail material. Since Lisa's caring for someone in the basement of a burn ward, sounds like a severe burn victim, honestly. The blood and the pus keep oozing through. What's keeping that child alive? If we remember correctly, Dahlia Gillespie, her kid, her daughter, apparently died in house fire. What? What could the connection there be? Hey Lavender, how's it going? Welcome to our Silent Hills, our little comfy Silent Hill stream, where I kind of just spout bullshit, and we're about to finish the game. From generals. Is there Silent Hill general going on? I hope no one shilled me there. I'd feel real bad if I was a shill. But, moving on. Now, I've mentioned that a lot of the items we've been picking up, the key items anyway, over here, very different cultures, different symbols, stuff like that. And right there is our most clear shot of who that was. That was Alessa. That was Alessa as we saw her. And all the ghost projections that we've seen up to this point, the one running through the hall, the one who was praying at the altar, those were Alessa too. And what we have here is what appears to be like a ruined attic of some kind. Just these nonsensical, indecipherable symbols all over the walls, carved everywhere. Just a single chair, very Spartan room. Nothing beyond the symbols. Nothing for leisure or joy either. It's just a desk, chair, all these nonsense on the walls, and that. It is an Ankh. Now, Ankh is actually, it's actually a very famous Egyptian thing. It's one of those things that you see goth chicks always hang around their necks. It is an Egyptian hieroglyph that symbolizes life or eternal life, or the afterlife. Hence the little circle there, kind of circle of life, what have you. Now, that's why I wanted to bring up all the different symbols that we've been seeing. Okay, Judaism and Christianity, you can see the tangential link there. The Olympian stuff, a little more of a stretch, but you can still kind of see it. Now we're just going ancient Egypt for the symbolism. Completely disparate. What could the possible connection there be? Who knows? Who knows? But, actually, you know what? Goth Chick's best tag. I don't know, man. I have other tags I prefer, but, you know, this isn't One Doom Jack-Off stream. This is Silent Hill. So, I'll say one thing I want to point out, that I think, above all else, this room represents the girl Alessa's, I guess, life, or childhood, if you will. All by herself, little comforts or joy, surrounded by all these nonsense symbols that she doesn't understand, but they're everywhere. They're her entire life. She can't escape them. They're the walls, they're the floors, they're everything. And that's all she has to look at, all she has to consume. I think that's what that's supposed to represent. But I'm just talking to my ass right now. It's locked. The word Eritron is carved in the door. Oh boy, just a second here. Eritron, Olympian spirit who is described as the alchemist who commanded 17,640,000 spirits, and is symbolized by the planet Saturn. Yeah, there is stuff in the Bible about Egypt and the wrath of God, but the Ankh specifically is to do with the Egyptian pantheon and their spiritual beliefs, not with ancient Egypt as shown in the Bible. And considering that we're about to get another symbol that has literally no ties whatsoever to biblical stuff, to my knowledge, we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Oh my. Yeah, it's mostly from Exodus, which is itself a book of the Torah as well. So we'll get to that. I have an interpretation, but I have an interpretation on all the different religions and things. Prince of Egypt was a good movie. That was a fun movie. Now, if I remember correctly... Huh, 1 second, actually. I'm trying to remember. Oh, dear, I have forgotten an important step. There's not a key here. Yeah, there's not. I respect the theory. I think that's a valid one. And certainly it ties into ideas that we'll see in Silent Hill 3, but, There we go. I did get the key of Belthor. There we are. Which means I can turn off the generator, which means... Yeah, you need all the Sunday school knowledge for Silent Hill. That's what it was preparing you for. For this 1999 video game of a dead series that will never come back. Man. Oh, here we have more larval stalkers. Damn. That's brutal. Get stomped. So, let's get the last key here. Key of Eritron. Take it. So, let's go to the last door and get the last symbol. Oh. There we go. And I'll shut up here for this next cutscene.
Everything is going according to plan, sheltered in the womb.
But it's not done yet. Half the soul is lost. That is why the seed lies dormant.
And what soul remains captured in that husk is buried deep down in the subconscious.
Are you trying to say it won't work? That wasn't our agreement.
No, these are just stalling tactics. If we lend a hand, we will be able to get power. Never fear, the promise shall not be broken.
But the power we could draw now will be very weak. Almost nothing. Unless we get the other half of the soul.
We'll use a magical spell. Feeling this child's pain, it's sure to come.
But that will take time.
Alessa. Pause the game here, and that's it. That is the bomb dropped. The girl who was burned, the Dahlia's child, was Alessa Gillespie. GSP, Gillespie. Gillespie is how it's pronounced in the game. That's how we're going to go with it. But Alessa was the one who was burned in the house fire out of some sort of ritual. And as is said, she split her soul in two into another incarnation, while the burned Alessa remained left behind in bed. No doubt, this was the girl in the hospital basement that Lisa Garland, the nurse, cared for, who was essentially blackmailed through the VHS tape into taking care of constantly against her wishes. with, of course, the drug that was more than likely supplied by Michael Kaufman, who we also see present alongside Dahlia here. I just want to point out the voice acting here is probably the worst in the entire game. It cracks me up every time. But yeah, I think that's actually what I want to point out with you, Dave. That's a good point. Every single day, if Alessa was even aware to look at things, to be aware of her surroundings, she would just see right next to her a picture of herself, what she used to be, day in and day fucking out. And keep in mind, there's only one chair here, and we already know she had a day and night nurse dealing with her with Lisa. Oh man, let's look around. We have one chair. That's it. It's more than likely that's why. Yeah, like I said, the center of attention. Well, you know what? May as well just get it out now. Jonathan, you said this last time, so I'm glad, considering that you've never played Silent Hill, you caught on very quickly with this. Alessa is the dreamer. We are exploring Alessa's subconscious, the burned girl trapped in the hospital. This is her mind that we've been walking through. These are her anxieties that we've been seeing. And these are the events that we've been seeing in piecemeal that led up to where we are now. Her soul was split in two, though. Now, remember correctly, Harry's daughter Cheryl, who looks nearly identical to Alessa, isn't actually his daughter. He and his wife found her on the side of the highway. And I am very glad that you brought that up again. Center of attention. She's laid in the center of the room. No one else. She is the center of attention. Fascinating. Cool shit. Cool shit. But the only thing I'm left somewhat curious about is what Dahlia means there by "will cast a spell." What spell exactly? Like, and I don't know. Like the specifics of how Cheryl and Harry came back to Silent Hill. Sort of, I don't know. Like it's a very strange series of events, and how what the spell is, it's never expanded upon to my knowledge. Much like, don't pick them off on the side of the road. That's some life advice there. Life advice. But what we're about to pick up is, I think, the most important symbol in the series, in my opinion. Pretty much what the rest of the games are going to be focused on, and what a lot of this game is actually focused on, as we'll discuss in the end. We get the Disc of Ouroboros. We'll talk about that in a second, when we don't have this ear-splitting scream. Because now, we only have here. This is pretty much game time. So, yeah. Just pull out the strongest gun in the game. And we'll just pause and talk for a bit. We'll just chat. Because we just picked up Disc of Ouroboros. Ring of a snake biting its own tail. So the symbol of a snake eating its own tail is it's an Eastern concept of cyclic existence that it represents. Essentially it is this endless cycle of death and rebirth. Essentially death being the death of the snake eating itself through life of having no beginning, having no true end, cyclically. Again, I'm butchering it right now because I'm fucking exhausted, but yeah, I would agree. I think the spell is a mostly pointless inclusion unless it was further expanded upon. The movie, I think, makes some sort of expansion on it since the kid, whatever the hell the kid's name is in the movie, I forget, explicitly wants to go to Silent Hill. But I digress. Now, there's a lot we could talk about because, as I've mentioned constantly, with the rotating fans, with the boss fight arena, with the split head, with the circles, the cyclic imagery, it is the most repeated motif in this game. Circles, cycles, endlessly, with the wind fans from last time. And once again, with the final item you pick up, the disc located next to Alessa in the place that she would have probably burned into her mind the most, outside of the room that we are in right now, which coincidentally are across the hall from one another, we have the Disc of Ouroboros, representing endless cycle of death and rebirth. Interesting. So, I guess the only thing left to do is to examine the room itself. Because, as the save point said, this is a child's room, and as we know, the child is Alessa. So, sort of examine. Now, there's a weird detail I noticed on my last playthrough. Let's see if I can get the camera just right enough. We have what appears to be a little gray doll in the corner. Now, I'm wondering if that's supposed to be the gray child. The gray child essentially is Alessa's doll. Because it could be, because the gray child, according to the Book of Lost Memories, is how Alessa viewed her classmates, as these mocking creatures, always on the hunt, always on the prowl. But there's a little gray doll in the corner there. I'm wondering if that didn't serve as the basis of what the gray child would look like in her mind. Just a little doll she had in the corner of her room. Cards are scattered all on the floor. Yeah, and I'm glad you noticed that. The playing cards are back. These seem to be the only toys that she has. She has a little gray doll right here. Again, it's very hard to get that angle. And some playing cards. Interesting that those are placed in the same location in the elementary school. Just have some knickknacks over here. Has a lot of books all over the floor. She's a very well-read child. As we can see, walking over, bookshelf, books scattered all over the floor. A very well-read child. More importantly, though, we have our insects all over the walls. Specifically, moths and butterflies. Remember again, the moth and the butterfly enemy. The cycle of death and rebirth that moths symbolize across the world. Like the Ouroboros, like the cycles we've been constantly seeing, so on and so forth. She's literally surrounds herself with this kind of imagery. Why she attaches to the moth imagery. Even beforehand. Very prominent in her life. She's fascinated by it. So we have some drawings on the floor. We actually have a little dress here. A girl's clothing hangs on the wall. 6, maybe 7. Must be a kid about that age. How old was Cheryl again? Just turned 7 years old. Short black hair. What did Alessa look like again? Interesting. Very interesting. Let's look at the drawings. Child's drawings are scattered on the floor. Now, what we have here, actually, it appears to be a groaner. This looks like what the dog enemy is. This could be the source of what that is. Let's go over here. Our old fairy tales, picture books of animals and plants on the shelf. Notice how every single enemy in the game, outside of the puppet nurses, which, maybe I'll explain that in another video some other time, are actually based on animals of some kind, a lot of references to fairy tales, stuff like that. I like to think that this is where a lot of the source of inspiration comes from. Like Alice in Wonderland, like the Wizard of Oz. Like the Air Screamer enemy, which is actually based on the pterodactyl from the book The Lost World from Arthur Conan Doyle. So I imagine this is where a lot of that comes from. And as we can see, Alessa is a child very much engrossed in fairy tale. Interesting. And I'm glad you picked up on that, Dave. Who else liked to draw? Specifically, who else liked to draw that? What appears to be a large looming figure of a different color standing over a much smaller figure. Could this be a parent and a child? Remember, generally, unstable households, the kid is drawn to some distance, some distance away from their parent or with a size discrepancy. Compare that with Cheryl, who just drew her dad in a big dumb smiley face, but not herself. Very different family portraits. Very different. The last drawing is this over here. I don't know what that is. I think I know what it is, but the Book of Lost Memories contradicts my interpretation of what this drawing right here is. So unfortunately, I can't really say for certain. I think it's plain obvious myself, but I'm factually wrong according to the book. So, let's place all these items in, and we'll save our game. Yes, Arthur Conan Doyle was into the occult. That is an interesting connection. Book of Lost Memories says something that we'll get to in a few minutes here. We have some cutscenes to watch first. Doors unlocked, so let's save our game. Alright, here we go. Let us go.
No! No! I don't want to! Do what Mommy tells you now. I just want you to lend me a teeny bit of your power. That's all. No! I don't want to do it. It will make everyone happy, and it's for your own good, too. Oh, but Mommy, I just want to be with you. Just two of us. Please understand. Oh, yes, I see. Maybe Mommy has been wrong. Mommy! Why didn't I see this before? There's no reason to wait. Herein lies the mother's womb, containing the power to create life. I could have done it all myself. Mommy?
The power to create life from the mother's womb. Does it make a little more sense what's going on with Alessa? What the plan was with Alessa? Maybe the next cutscene will explain it a little better. Yeah, cults are bad. Cults are very bad. I don't think Silent Hill has ever actually taken a stance on religion, personally. It is very much about the cults. And there's a note in Silent Hill 3 in particular that just lays it all the fuck out. But we'll talk about my stance on the cult and their god and all the spiritual stuff in a few minutes here, in a little diatribe. But what is worth noting, turn around, we can see the door back here. The cults. Not the cults, the cults. Damn it. Fucking Colts haven't been doing good this season. But what we have here is what I believe to be a perfectly recreated use of the Gillespie house. So we have back here, we have Alessa's door, and on the main hall. And then down here, we have the ground floor. Now, in my opinion, I think this is actually something Origins contradicts. Origins has it be that the accidental fire in the Gillespie house took place on the second floor. Just based on what we're seeing here, I think it took place on the first floor. And what is down this staircase here is essentially ground zero of the entire plot. This is where the fire happened. This is where the injury happened. This is where she basically became a vegetable, a prisoner of her own body. So I believe down there on the first floor of the Gillespie house is ground zero of Silent Hill, pretty much. And that's where you're about to enter. And if you all remember, that image there's been two images, two body models I haven't shut the fuck up about since episode 1. It was the one cross-armed model, looks like it's covered in a bag, and the one crucified body. Well, here it is. There it is. The one crucified model that you've been seeing constantly, all throughout the game. Just a picture in the Gillespie house. All that was is, think of it this way. Think you're Alessa. You live in this room. You come out every day. And this is what's burned into your brain. That image burned into your mind every single fucking day. And as we're about to see in a second, Alessa probably does fancy herself some sort of Christ-like figure, in a sense. But, so, this could be how she saw herself, almost. Projecting herself onto this image, which is why it's so prominent in the dream that she's having that we're playing through right now. So, nothing left to do, but head down the stairs.
I was shocked to realize the Talisman of Metatron was being used. In spite of the lost soul returning at last. Just a little longer and all would have been for naught. It's all because of that man. We must be thankful to him. Even though Alessa has been stopped, his little girl has to go. What a pity.
Freeze! What in the devil's name?
Dahlia.
Well, well, well. To think you'd make it this far.
Where's Cheryl? What have you done to her?
What are you talking about? You've seen her many times restored to her former self.
I'm in no mood for jokes.
Don't you see? She's right there.
That's absurd.
You are the only one who thinks so.
Why? Why are you doing this?
It's been a long 7 years. For the 7 years since that terrible day, Alessa has been kept alive, suffering a fate worse than death. Alessa has been trapped in an endless nightmare from which she never awakens. He has been nurtured by that nightmare, waiting for the day to be born. That day has finally come. The time is nigh. Everyone will be released from pain and suffering. Our salvation is at hand. This is the day of reckoning, when all our sorrows will be washed away. When we return to the true paradise. My daughter will be the mother of God.
Return things to how they were before.
Kaufman!
Did I ask for this? Nobody uses me. You won't get away with this.
Your role is over. We don't need you anymore. What do you think you can accomplish by coming here?
My, aren't we getting cocky? Bet you can't see this.
A glove it is! I thought I got rid of that!
All I had to do was plant it somewhere for you to find. You all, well, it kept you busy. Ha! You're easy. And there's more where this came from.
Stop it!
Huh? What the?
Okay. We have a lot to talk about there. Fun fact, this track is called My Heaven, and Akira Yamaoka, who did the soundtrack for the game, Yamaoka, excuse my pronunciation, did this soundtrack using a dentist's drill. No, it is not Mothman, Thick Rhymes. It is Satan with titties. This is the Incubus. It is a big Satan with titties. And it exploded from a chick's back. It's the most metal fucking thing I've ever seen in a video game. And then the industrial kicks in. Oh, it's so good. Shit's great. But we have a lot to talk about in that cutscene. I can't talk about this. So it is revealed what we thought was Alessa throughout the game. The young girl, young lady, whatever, who's wearing the blue dress is actually Cheryl. It is a Cheryl who is aged 7 years. And the real Alessa was the burned corpse that I have not shut the fuck up about, that we've been seeing all throughout the game. Multiple times in the elementary school, multiple times in the sewers, everywhere. You would see that model. Now, why is that? If this is Alessa's dream, why is she reminded of her body? I think it's because it's a reminder. It's like, it's that self-loathing of, this is what you are now. This is you. And she can't escape it. Because, as I believe Dave pointed out earlier, she has that photo next to her in the actual bedroom of herself. Day in and day out, this is what you used to be. And in her dream, she has to be reminded, this is what you are. And this is what you're always going to be. You're trapped. You're never getting out. It's very self-loathing, self-defeating. Rather sad. But yeah, so Dahlia's goal was to merge the two daughters together. Alessa is basically Urzen, confirmed. DMC5 is fucking plagiarism. But now, what is that? You bring up that, Mothman, well, this is the god, essentially. According to Dahlia, at least. Dahlia says to God. The Book of Lost Memories has a very different answer to this. Now, if all of Silent Hill is a dream, you might be wondering, as I'm arguing, how could a god be born from it? Simple, it's not a god. This isn't a god because there is no god to the Silent Hill faith or whatever that's actually real. According to the Book of Lost Memories, what we're seeing here is that the white glowing woman is how Alessa perceives the god of the cult to be. The monster that we're looking at right now is what Dahlia perceives the god of the cult to be. The incubus is what we're looking at right now, and the white woman is the incubator. In both instances, it's merely what the other presumes the god to be. Now, what I brought up earlier about the drawing in Alessa's room, saying it confused me, is because to me, that drawing looks exactly like what this is. So what I assumed would be, my personal interpretation before I read that quote was that the incubator, the white woman, was how Alessa perceived herself as sort of like this saintly figure. And what we're looking right now is how Alessa perceived the god. Apparently that's not the case. So, official canon goes against me here. So, make of that what you will. But, yeah, essentially, there really isn't much more to talk about. This is merely a perception. We are fighting another element of someone's psyche. Not an actual god. Again, everyone says, oh, you know, Silent Hill 2 is this genius game and all the other games are stupid and they weren't about anything. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, the drawing looks so much like the Incubus. But apparently, it's how Dahlia perceives the god rather than how Alessa perceives the god. And if that's the case, well, I suppose what it could be is that Alessa could listen to Dahlia's rantings, because Dahlia is the kind of person who rants on and on and on and on. More than likely to her daughter, since no father or siblings are ever mentioned. No father's ever mentioned for who gave birth. I just find that interesting. I don't know. I have my own interpretations of what that could possibly mean about Alessa and Dahlia, but I think Alessa drew that a drawing of the god in relation to how her mother spoke of the cult's god. So this could be still how Alessa perceives it, but it's Alessa's perception of how Dahlia describes their god. It's fucking convoluted. I said I was going to get it right up my own ass in the last chunk here. Here we are, everyone. But yeah, there isn't really much more to talk about with the Incubator and Incubus. Nope, there is. I'm very dumb, very stupid. The Wizard of Oz Symbolism I brought up at the very beginning, about how the 3 different members of Dorothy's party saw the wizard differently. Remember, the wizard is always just a man. The wizard is smoke and mirrors, but he always displays himself as something grander and more supernatural and almost godlike. At least, even in the live-action film. So one of them perceived. Now I forget. Is it roomy up my own ass? No, there's only space for one. Now, I forget who specifically. One of the members of Dorothy's party, either the Scarecrow, the Woodsman, or the Lion, perceived the god as a white woman, like the Incubator, like we just saw. Another member perceived the wizard as... I meant the wizard earlier, excuse me. Perceived the wizard as a horrible beast, the Incubus, what we're seeing right now. And another one who I remember is the Cowardly Lion. The Cowardly Lion perceived the wizard as a great ball of fire. That one's harder to link. That could either be Alessa burning to create this scenario to begin with, or in my opinion, the Great Ball of Fire is Dahlia getting her just desserts and getting lit ablaze by the Incubus, excuse me. By Satan with titties. Yeah, so, but at the end of the day, it's still just a man. It's still just the wizard. And there's one more interesting detail. I want you to pay attention to the death scream when we kill this thing here. Stand our ground, ladies and gentlemen. Let's pop this ahead time. Oh. All right. That's actually a good point. The ball of fire could be the Aglophidus. That's a good point. I never thought of that. Thank you very much. It could very well just represent the Aglophidus. Either way, though, still false. It still kind of ties to my search report. I think the god is not a god. It's merely another figment of the dreamer's imagination that Harry is fighting against. I love the song as well, and that was Silent Hill 1. The game ends with the dream collapsing, Alessa repeating what she did 7 years ago, rebirthing herself into a new baby, and Harry escapes the town with his new baby and Sybil. I think what strikes me the most about this ending is Harry Mason. Harry is a very simple character. He's two-dimensional. He really doesn't have that much characterization, but what he does have is love for his daughter, clearly. And he's shown on 2 occasions where you can kill Sybil as an option, and when he barricades the door from Lisa, that no matter what, his daughter comes first. Fuck everyone else. Daughter comes first. He will put his kid as a priority. Harry goes to hell and back, puts his ass online every scenario, and what does he get out of it? In the best case scenario, he gets a new kid, a new baby. He doesn't get his Cheryl back. He gets this thing. He gets a baby born basically from hell as far as he's concerned. He doesn't know what it is. In this game, we don't even know the sex. It could be a boy or a girl for all we know. But he gets this new baby from almost hell from his perspective. Go back to your day job, Harry. Go back to your 9 to 5, Harry. Explain this fucking new baby to the IRS, to your family, to your friends. Imagine how his life must go after this. And it's also worth noting, this is exactly what happened 7 years prior. The cycle of life and death and rebirth begins anew. But I don't know, I think that concept of Harry Mason goes to hell and back for his daughter, and this is what he gets in return. It's a pretty bleak ending. I don't know. I love Silent Hill 1. I don't know if you guys could tell, I have a lot of passion for this game, even though I kind of bullshitted my way through it a little bit. Well, we do have one more scene. A vital scene, I would argue, for the cyclic imagery, Silent Hill 1. If you remember correctly, this is shot for shot the exact same scene from the first cutscene of the game where Harry is picking up baby Cheryl with his wife. And these are just like little outtakes. These are like little goofy animations Sato made in his free time. So let's let him play out. But yeah, that last image is a complete shot-for-shot recreation, a mirror of Harry and Sybil picking up this new child. Again, gender's not specified. It is a kid. So he and Sybil fawn over this new baby the same way that Harry and his wife fawned over baby Cheryl 7 years prior. Yeah, look at that Dale Cooper thumbs up. Yes, this actually did almost kill Sato. That's how much of a madman he is. He made these for fun when he already put like 6,000 hours into just putting the basic CG together. The guy's nuts. Yes. Mommy's milkies. Make sure to single out that audio clip there to be used against me in the future. There's our hero. Now, I mentioned that the scene of Harry and his first wife, and his wife was in the CG intro. What's interesting for New Game Plus, once you beat the game... Yeah, let's save the game. Because there's two things I want to point out before we kind of end here for the day. Is that if you watch the CG cutscene now, the CG opening of Silent Hill now, it actually replaces the scene. Now Sybil is there. Completely replaced the scene. Interesting shit. And also, what is also interesting is that if you load a New Game Plus save, what happens is Harry, as I've pointed out constantly, wakes up in the diner, skips over the entire beginning of the game, just wakes up like everything he just did, all a dream, just another dream, and the exact same cutscene the Sybil plays out. I don't know if there's much point of us watching it again, other than establishing it is the exact same cutscene. No changes from this point on.
Was I dreaming?
How do you feel?
So, yeah. Now, one of the original plot guides for this, written on GameFAQs back in, I think, 99 or 2000, by a guy named President Evil, had a pretty interesting theory on this, that, in his opinion, Silent Hill 1 was a time loop. It was a closed loop. And this is sort of Harry Mason's hell, is that he's in this loop, and no matter what, he will reset. No matter which ending you get, his New Game Plus is just waking up in the diner again, waking up again and again and again. And it's almost like this Twilight Zone closed loop scenario, where every scenario he does before is just a dream to him, to which he awakes to another one. It's a pretty interesting idea, and believe it or not, actually might have some impact in future games if you want to get into some weirder translation details. But, you know, that's a story for another day. That was Silent Hill 1. I really like this game a lot. I suppose if there's anything at all I could say I don't enjoy about the story, well, obviously stuff like voice acting and translation isn't great. The game doesn't really have a takeaway theme at the end of the day. There's a lot of ideas thrown around, a lot of symbols thrown around, but I don't really know if this game has a core central message or a theme that you can really take away that you can from especially 2 and Silent Hill 3. I suppose like comparing family units, cycle of abuse possibly, as is comparing a single parent household of Harry Mason with Cheryl to the single parent household of Dahlia with Alessa, and how those two different versions of the exact same person turned out based on their upbringing. I suppose you could argue that is an idea, but I don't really see it having a take-home message. It's an experience above all else. I don't think it needed a big theme. I don't know, it was a unique experience, had some interesting characters, a lot of interesting ideas and horror tropes, and led on to two games that were much bigger and much better. But thank you all for joining me, and this is where we're going to be concluding Silent Hill In Depth.